Humans have a habit of stepping on every inch of this planet. Today, even the highest, most hostile environments on Earth are heavily commercialized, complete with traffic jams at 29,000 feet. We have mapped the ocean floor, built outposts in the freezing Antarctic, and even park rovers on Mars. We are a species defined by the drive to place our flags on the unreachable. But just a few hundred miles away from the crowded ridges of Everest sits an anomaly. This is Mount Kailash, located deep in the high-altitude deserts of Tibet. At 6,638 meters, it is nearly a mile and a half shorter than Everest. Yet, while thousands of people have stood on top of the world's tallest peak, the summit of Kailash remains officially unclimbed. You cannot buy a permit to try. In 2001, the Chinese government enacted a permanent, strict ban on anyone attempting to summit the mountain. This leaves us with a rare piece of geography that forces both our scientific ambition and our human ego to wait at the base. If you look at this region from above, the Himalayas are a chaotic collision of tectonic plates, jagged, random, and unpredictable. Kailash, however, stands in stark isolation from that chaos. Satellite imagery shows a specific structural departure from the surrounding peaks. Kailash is defined by 4 distinct, symmetrical faces, forming a massive pyramid that aligns with the cardinal directions. This specific geometry sits at the head of a massive hydrological system. 4 major river systems originate here, flowing directly out from the base of the peak. The Indus, the Brahmaputra, the Sutlej, and the Karnali all start at these slopes, carrying water in 4 separate directions to sustain life for over 1 billion people across the continent. The mountain functions as a centralized distribution point for Asia's water, a structure that effectively powers the ecosystems of multiple nations. Since the summit is off-limits, thousands of pilgrims travel here every year to complete the parikrama. It is a grueling 52-kilometer trek that loops entirely around the mountain's base. Trekkers on this route consistently report strange magnetic interference. If you pull out a standard navigational compass on the trail, the needle often fails to find north, spinning erratically over the rocks. Beyond the mechanical failures, many who visit the mountain's base describe a biological anomaly that is much harder to measure, a localized acceleration of time. Visitors frequently notice that their hair and nails grow at a visible rate during the trek, reporting weeks' worth of cellular growth in just a few days spent near the peak. Geographic data adds another layer to the mystery. When researchers calculated the longitudinal and latitudinal center of the Earth's landmasses, the coordinates intersected directly at this point in Tibet. Magnetic interference, biological reporting, and geographic centrality converge here, creating a profile for Mount Kailash that sits well outside the norm of standard geological study. These anomalies form a barrier that is not made of vertical ice or thin air. It is a barrier of deep historical reference that has kept the peak untouched for centuries. Long before modern GPS existed, ancient texts identified this exact location as Meru Parvat, the axis mundi, or the pillar at the center of the universe. This view is shared across the Hindu, Buddhist, Jain, and Bon faiths. To these cultures, the mountain is not just a landmark, it is a living, divine presence. For Buddhists, it is the dwelling of Demchog and the site of Milarepa's meditation. For Hindus, it is the actual home of Lord Shiva. This creates a simple rule that enforces its unclimbed status. You do not step on the summit, because to do so would be to step on the very center of the sacred. While our modern instinct is to conquer and plant flags, Kailash represents an older wisdom, the idea that some places are defined by the boundaries we choose not to cross. Mount Kailash remains a mystery that doesn't need to be solved. It is an invitation to realize that some things are meant to be respected from a distance rather than conquered.